Well, hello everybody. I'm Del Shores.
And I'm Emerson Collins, and this is the Del and Emerson Show.
Straight talk.
Real gay. I was
Woo!
aggressively gay.
How are you?
I'm just fine, Del Shores. How are you?
Oh, I'm just lovely. I got out in the world today.
Oh, look at that. Where'd you go?
I went to Cafe Figaro. Debbie Holiday and her boyfriend Forrest dropped by. They picked me up in their Explorer chariot, and we went and had lunch inside.
Oh,
it was crazy, and we're all vaccinated, and it just felt like a different world. It was great.
Oh, chariots of fire.
Yes.
Flaming even.
I had a hamburger with some bacon. And
okay, that part's not interesting. The other one.
You know what's interesting about it is Debbie is a vegan, and I was like, should I order this? Is it wrong? And she didn't seem to mind.
Well, it's not like walking out to the farm and eating bacon in front of the pigs. You know, it's not the same.
I know, but you know, some vegans. Woo!
Yes. Yes.
She's not one of those.
She's not. How is everybody else? We hope your Friday is rolling along real good. What we're supposed to do here is the LGBTQ news and nonsense. We got a packed show. That gay Bachelor, Buttigieg, Ivanka, and Vaxxing, a Call Me By Your Name Christian parody, anti-trans bills in Texas, the Reap lawsuit, church ushers packing, Parliament revenge porn, Queer as Folk reboot, Joe and the Shit Boys, and a baby with 3 penises.
Lord.
Lots to discuss.
It's like Circus Freak day on the Del and Emerson Show. And I know a lot of you people, you thought you can't wait for that church ushers packing because you don't know which packing it is. I'm packing.
That's right. You just have to stick around, tortured through this entire hour, waiting to find out when we'll reveal it.
All right. Well, how are you, Emerson? I'm so selfish. You asked me how I am, and I didn't even return it. How are you?
That's just fine. I'm fine enough. I'm doing fair to Midland. I'm more than Midland.
How's your arm? You got your second vaccine too.
I did, but I'm going to talk about it at the vaccine story.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Get there.
All right. I'm already jumping the gun.
Oh, Lord. But wait, let's talk about some real stuff for a minute because not that our lives aren't, but mine is not interesting. Let's be honest, y'all. I was on a Clubhouse earlier and people talking about going on walks, and I was like, well, I switched from my sweatpants to my jeans. That's what I've done.
I'm just excited that I'm wearing underwear today.
Oh, well, I bet some people are disappointed to hear that. So
well, I was in public.
Well, I know that. Yeah, I'm confused.
What's your point?
What do you think gray sweatpants were invented for?
That's right. There's nothing more fun than seeing a little bit of a penis outline and some gray sweats.
I am just grateful. Whoever once upon a time decided that heather gray should be the most common color of sweatpants, I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, now we've really already digressed.
But it just doesn't show up the same in like a mint green or a fuchsia. No. Something about gray just helps.
Yes, it does.
Okay, in the real story, in the real news, and some of the real issues we've been talking about for a while, the anti-Asian American hate. In Congress this week, they just voted to start the process of debating a bill to address hate crimes against Asian Americans. Just to start the debate. Not even the vote on the bill, and 6 senators voted against even starting the debate, and you will be shocked to hear that it was good old Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Marshall out of Kansas, Rand Paul, and Tommy Tuberville. Just a rogues gallery of bullshit bigots. But the mind-numbingness of saying we don't even want to debate the possibility. Not what do we do about it, not how do we address it, just the concept of even being worth the time of our federal government and what that says to Asian Americans across the country.
Yeah, it's like we would much rather just, take off our mask and cause a little stink, Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. And what I found interesting about this when it started trending on Twitter yesterday is that I thought, well, except for Hawley, they're all Southern. And and in a way, Missouri is considered.
I was about to say, lots of people in Missouri consider it.
Yeah, they do. Well, they were. I mean, half of Missouri, I just started digging a little historically. Half of them were part of the Confederacy. So
Yeah.
it just doesn't look good, motherfuckers. It just doesn't. I mean, it's just why? What is that? It's like today, you know, 2 people voted against on the House. They voted against the, you know, it's crazy.
You're talking about Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor
Yes,
Greene.
let's not match people so that they can not have cancer.
Just bone marrow transplants that our QAnon queens decided we don't want to do that. Like,
why? What the fuck is that about? I mean, you know what I think it's about, Emerson? I think it's about we got to trend. I think it's about we got some attention.
I think it's that they're so stupid. They thought it was like stem cells and they thought they were voting about abortion. They didn't understand that bone marrow is not the same. I really do think it's that they're that dumb.
It's like, you know, if there's a chandelier, a big chandelier with over 200 bulbs in it, there are lots of them flickering and 2 are out.
2 that have exploded, just dim, just dark. That is one of my favorite sayings. Not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. Also, because it sounds a little gay.
Yeah.
Also, but they don't have time to debate dealing with hate against Asian Americans. But Ted Cruz sure has time to worry about corporations getting involved in social issues. I love this idea from new modern bigot conservatives that it's people on the left that invented the concept of companies weighing in on social issues, as if it isn't the left reacting to the fact that the moral majority did that for decades. Protests and TV shows talking about gay people. I mean, the amount of weight that social conservatives wielded through businesses just makes it mind-numbingly ironic that they're now upset at Major League Baseball and people for doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's cancel culture. They invented the fucking cancel culture.
In every way. Like, y'all started this.
Oh my God, it's so early in the show to get on these soapboxes, but I just can't help it.
Del Shores, when have you ever stepped off?
Just to sleep? I don't know.
Even then, you're just curled up on that soapbox waiting for the morning shift.
Oh, it's amazing that sometimes I dream of politics, and
I believe that. I would imagine you dreaming of preaching sermons and waking up. Oh, that's good. I should put that down for Sunday.
What do I have against her? I got in my dream. I went after. Why did I go after Miss Pelosi tonight?
What was on your heart? I'm like, oh, I woke up ready for a rambling.
Something just wanna. I'm like, you know, it's like my chihuahuas. When I walk, I mean, they're just looking for a fight.
Yes, absolutely, they are. And then, in sticking with our other, serious subjects of continuing the focus on being anti-racist in those conversations, and of course, I know you have been watching, but the Derek Chauvin trial, the stuff with Daunte Wright, and then the recent news and the body cam footage of Adam Toledo, you have watched the Derek Chauvin trial extensively, haven't you?
I have. I've not missed very much of it. I have been quite consumed with it, and my daughter Caroline is also consumed with it. So it's our dialogue on a daily basis.
I haven't watched a lot of the testimony. I've been reading the headlines at the end of the night. But a very interesting thing happened yesterday with one of our regular targets here on the show. If y'all haven't seen it, there is a clip of Pappy Pat Robertson on the 700 Club talking with another guest about the taser versus gun and Kim Potter with Daunte Wright and the issue of her saying she meant to grab the taser but grab the gun and all of that. And Pat Robertson said, as a reminder, I'm pro-police, but if they don't stop this onslaught, they cannot do this. Derek Chauvin, they got to put him under the jail. He has caused so much trouble by kneeling on the death of George Floyd. It's just terrible what's happening. And if you have lost Pappy Pat Robertson in these conversations, I mean, it was shocking to me. It of course makes sense to all the rest of us who are watching this and hoping this trial goes a certain way, but to speak to the larger issue, even beyond George Floyd, to the systemic issues of what this relates to, it was shocking to see even Pappy Pat say Derek Chauvin shouldn't have done this and was wrong.
I know. I honestly, I thought he's having a stroke. He is fucking having a stroke right now. Something, or he just had a vision that he's about to meet his maker, and God said, Pappy Pat, you are not getting through these gates. These pearly gates are not going to happen unless you do something right. Because I've been going after him for fucking years. It doesn't redeem. He doesn't have my redemption at all. But yes, he did get woke for half a second.
Yeah. But it's been interesting, as Xana says here, it's been amazing how good the Minnesota prosecution has been. Even when they messed up by not introducing his carbon monoxide level, which was normal, they found a way to let the jury know it was normal. It does seem, because those clips, the prosecution attorneys have been really excellent in how they've handled the wide array of the witnesses. And of course, the result here is important, but the bigger issue is still how the police deal with this. And I have been doing personally a lot of research into the abolish the police movement. You know, we've seen a lot of the defund the police, and really understanding the epic changes we have to make in policing, that the history of this institution requires massive fundamental change. Otherwise, we're going to continue to play whack-a-mole, trying to deal with these instances after the fact instead of addressing Black people's concerns and community concerns and low-income neighborhood policing concerns in advance, so that these instances, we're not dealing with the results, that we're stopping the causes. So
yeah, it's that has been. I tell you, I think people will study the prosecution with many years to come, because I think they did such an amazing job. So you know, Blackwell. What was is it Blackwell? Is he the one who the crazy British guy with the big ears who just came in for the defense, and they just destroyed his integrity, which was it was just such a chipping away of it. They so masterfully. Anyway, Jerry Blackwell, I believe is his name.
So we will continue to see.
That's why I'm going to for the next few weeks, by the way, Emerson, anytime that I go up on a name or anything, I'm just going to blame the anesthesia, because they say, and so I don't know how long I have to do that.
6 months.
I'm going to go for 6 months then.
6 months. Yeah, you can use that. I was under anesthesia for 6 months, I think.
I'll just say AB, anesthesia, Brian. AB, I got AB.
Well, Michelle just asked about it, and it is one of the other giant stories of this week from The Bachelor. Now I want to ask from our live viewers, who is a big fan of The Bachelor? I made the decision years and years and years ago not to enter the Bachelor Nation. It's just too many nuts, too much commitment for me to be engaged in. You know, I got my housewives and my Bravo world. But the Cliff Notes backstory: Colton Underwood, former pro football player, was a star of, he was a contestant on The Bachelorette, then he was on Bachelor in Paradise, the spinoff show, and then ultimately he became The Bachelor. He was advertised, I did see this everywhere, as the Virgin Bachelor. And this week he came out in an interview with Robin Roberts. In that interview, there's a lot of pieces of this story on it because it has an impact on how people reacted to various things. In the interview, he talked about how he had suicidal thoughts. He grew up Catholic, very religious. He was asked about the impact of him coming out on the women on this show. He said he wished he hadn't dragged other people into the mess of figuring out who he was. He apologized to Cassie, which is who he chose on his season of The Bachelor, said he was actually in love with her, which made it harder. And a quote I liked: "I wish I would have been courageous enough to fix myself before I broke anyone else." He said he remembered praying to God when he got The Bachelor, "Thank you for making me straight." That's how he saw this opportunity. But he had known since he was 6, realized his freshman year of high school, but spent years trying to pray the gay away. Now, an important piece of backstory that fans of the show will know: Cassie Randolph, who he selected as his woman from The Bachelor, they were together for a while, and then last September, she had to get a restraining order against him, saying he stalked and harassed her. He sent her unsettling text messages, repeatedly called her, put a tracking device on her car. It was alleged he showed up at her family home at 2 a.m. Then he texted her from an anonymous number with harassing texts and said he was also getting those before then admitting that he sent them himself. So that's the Bachelor part of the story. Then it was revealed the same afternoon from Variety that he is currently now in production on an unscripted reality series, presumably about his coming out journey. And out Olympian Gus Kenworthy is on the show serving as some sort of guy. This is a lot of story.
Sounds like a big porn movie.
I mean, yes, it's a lot. I'm seeing if we have any of our Bachelor people.
And you also said that he follows Dan Crenshaw and Candace Owens.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention that for like, who knows what all of that means. I never try to assume too much out of follows, but he definitely lives in a Christian conservative world. And I have multiple pieces of thought here, right? I have always said, wherever you are when you come out, welcome, congratulations. And I mean that, and mean that for him. But it does not discount the way he treated this woman. You know, that behavior doesn't get excused
because you're
this violation. Right.
It's like, you know, Kevin Spacey, welcome. Well, I'm not sure with you because you waited. We could have used you a long time ago before all this shit hit the fan. And then you decided to use coming out as a way to deflect this heinous behavior.
Yeah, although there's a lot of distance because she dropped that restraining order in November. You know, Kevin, it happened like as those allegations. It was an easy connecting of the dots.
Absolutely agree. I tell you what else doesn't feel right to me. And I just, there's something about using your coming out immediately just to capitalize on that fame that I'm going to do another reality show. It's like, you know, my fame is drying up. So therefore I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to come out as non-binary or whatever. And it's really hard, even though we don't want to judge that. We have somebody that we know about, that we talked about, that did that, and the fame was going away. And then suddenly, you know, and you go, and there have been such horrible motives before that you start questioning the motives now. Does that make sense? And I don't want to come off as that person who's not celebrating with him that he's been able to, you know, deride that faith that was so ingrained in him, because we both know what that's like.
Right. Well, to me, there's definitely, it's interesting because Netflix didn't put out the press release. It's unless they're the source for Variety and taking advantage of the interview. He's had 3 reality shows, and of course, that's someone people are then inclined to make a show about. But to me, I agree with what you said, because it is capitalizing, and like, as white, you know, a generically attractive gay man is a story we have seen more of, and that doesn't discount the pain of his own journey, and certainly the religious narrative we're incredibly familiar with. But if they're going to do that, I would hope that they know that they need to be accountable for addressing for him his behavior with Cassie, with this woman. She hasn't said anything, and I watched for it, and I just certainly don't want to speak on her behalf. We'll wait and see what she says about all of the stuff, and it may be very real that he acted out of like his own internal pain, but we don't get to dismiss the impact of the closet, our actions in the closet, because of what we were going through. If anything, it's another sign of how damaging the closet is, right? That it impacts people beyond ourselves for the things we do while we're in it. And if they use that aspect, at least maybe there's something redeeming in holding him accountable for that. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense. And we all go to those, you know, I was married for 9.5 years, and I regret that betrayal. I really regret that betrayal. I don't regret the marriage because I have these 2 amazing kids, because it becomes very, very complicated. And thankfully, my ex-wife and I are friends today. But I know that it was painful for her, and it was painful for all of us. And I wish that I had not had that damage to inflict the pain on so many people, including myself.
Yeah. And also, it's a hard period of your life, and maybe it's not the best time to sit in front of cameras and work out, some significant personal issues.
Like it feels like to me, I mean, I don't know what it is, but the gay guide, let me show you how to cruise. What is it?
Well, that's not the name like from the show. That's what the article called.
Okay.
Like Gus is on the show in some capacity, but like the gay guide is not like a press release official title from the television show, just so we know.
All
the
right.
telephone game across the internet gets a lot. Michelle asked, his voice sounded so terrified during the interview. Don't you agree? He did. There was clearly some relief, something we are all very familiar in seeing, but also maybe an awareness that this wasn't the end of the discussion of the complicating factors in his particular story.
Well, you know what? Ultimately, I wish him all the best. And I do say welcome. And I hope he finds happiness by finding his honest, authentic self. So yeah. That's my good, big wish for him. All right. Well, let's go. Shall we move on?
And to our outside, wait, I get a wrap up thought too. And to our outside thoughts on it, that the accountability matters most between him and the woman he treated this way. So we also can wait and hear, her speak for herself too.
Good point. Good point. And we see what Candace Owens says. No, I'm kidding. All right. Well, someone who has been out and proud and has been such a trailblazer in so many ways is Pete Buttigieg. And an AP poll last month found 25% of Americans not likely to get vaccinated. And this is a crazy statistic. And y'all know I love statistics. 40% of evangelical Protestants are not going to get vaccinated. So White House Press Secretary Jen, say her name. It's like the drink, basically, right? It's sake. Yep. Sake said this week that they are working with faith-based organizations, civic leaders, and worked with the 700 Club. There's Pappy. Deadliest Catch. And which is, I don't even know what that means. Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. It's a reality show about people working on fishing boats, like in Alaska and places.
Oh, are they faith-based?
It's like Duck Dynasty, but like in the ocean.
And are also working with country music television and NASCAR to increase vaccine confidence. So, they're just covering Christians and rednecks. So Secretary Mayor Buttigieg was discussing evangelical Christians' resistance to get the vaccine. And here's what he said. He said, I've heard people I care about say, if I'm faithful, God's going to take care of me. And I guess what I would hope that they might consider is that maybe a vaccine is part of God's plan for how you are going to take care of yourself. So simply and so well said. And then Princess Ivanka Trump posted a picture this week of getting the vaccine and said, today I got the shot. I hope that you do too. Thank you, Nurse Torres. And then she was just, you could not find one positive comment on her Twitter feed. I mean, she was fucking destroyed, and rightfully so.
Why rightfully? No, it was her MAGA fans. Wait, her fans were destroying that they didn't want to get the vaccine.
No. But that's not all that I read. What I read more than anything was you're a little too late, and your husband was working against this from the very beginning, and you were complicit with your dad. So where were you then? And now you're going to step up? That's what I read more of.
Oh, well, go to her Instagram, because all of the comments are from MAGA fans saying they don't trust the vaccine. I mean, 12,000 likes on a thing that's like, I am not getting that chip implanted in my body. Like, y'all created this, and now they won't even listen to you when you tell them to do the healthy thing.
Well, here's the deal. And let's be honest, everybody. There are many elements to herd immunity. And one of them is getting the disease, and one of them is people dying. And then and then one of them is another facet is the people like us who are intelligent enough to think that maybe if there is a God, that he gave you the good sense to get vaccinated so that you're not going to be on a fucking ventilator. So we're going to get to herd immunity one way or the other. So you anti-vaxxers, if you don't want it, fine.
I know. Well, but the real problem with that is that it's like I have people in my life who can't get the shot.
I know.
Wait for those people to die. I got mine this week. I did my second one. I did not have any symptoms, but my arm hurt so bad every time I rolled over on it. I kept waking myself up in the middle of the night. I'm a delicate flower.
I just had surgery on my shoulder, so I win.
Oh, look at that war wound. It makes you look all rugged.
Isn't it great? It's getting so good.
It is getting so good. Back to those people, the pastors and things. I never understood people that said God will take care of it. Like God didn't give the doctors the gift to invent the vaccines. Like that isn't using God's gifts as well.
Let's just go this way. What if your house is on fire? Does God give you the good sense to run out, maybe to get a fucking bucket of water and throw it on the house? I mean, isn't that part of it too? Or are you just going to sit there in your recliner and wondering as you're watching Fox News as the flames come up around you if Jesus is going to intervene and save your ass? No, don't be so fucking stupid.
You'd be like, no, they think I'll be like Daniel in the lion's den. I'll just be standing in the flames and they won't hurt me.
Yeah, well.
Of course, again, fine, good, try it. I'm so tired of trying to convince people not to work in their own best interest.
I am done. I'm not arguing with them on Twitter. I'm just like, okay. Just
also, to all of our listeners on the iTunes and the Spotify and Pandora, you didn't get to see Dell's scar, but everybody watching live thinks it looks real good and sexy. So your scar.
It's like I'm proud of it. I'm going to have a matching one pretty soon too. So
yes, it's like a paired set. It's going to start to look like you had angel wings on the front that got ripped out.
I'm thinking, y'all help me out here just for a second. I'm thinking, what kind of tattoo can I go over the scar that would be really cool looking?
Oh, good. Yeah, y'all submit. Send submissions.
And keep in mind, I've got this feather going.
Right. So, maybe you just got to complete it. Get yourself some more. Get a whole range.
Maybe some wings, some flapping wings.
No, you could get you like the Vegas showgirls that used to have the fans of feathers in front of their tits. You could just do a whole set.
I'm just going to go crazy. I'm just going to go.
Jig said zippers.
Oh, I like that idea. A couple of zippers would be fantastic. I wonder if it hurts, though, to get tattooed in scars.
On a scar? Well, just find out. In other Christian news, a Christian TikToker named Caitlin Page has taken Lil Nas X's Call Me By Your Name and written a Christian parody about God. Now, in the video, she sings it wearing angel wings and a halo. And for our live viewers, I want to show her to y'all. But it's very interesting because usually, you make a parody from like a marginalized group. And the whole point of this song is that this is about people who've been beat up by Christians. But here's Caitlin in her little video. Now, she did say at the beginning, it's not hate against Lil Nas X, but she rewrote the chorus and it goes, call him when you want, call him when you need, call him when you're crying, drop down on your knees. And my thought is, Caitlin, that's not that much of a parody because that still sounds like the same thing Lil Nas X is singing. Get down on your knees. Like she didn't finish making it about God because at the end of that, I just heard blowjob.
I know she should have said, get down on your knees and pray.
And pray. But see, that's a trigger for me. People who write parodies and have to add extra syllables to the original lyrical journey. Nope, you didn't do very good. If it doesn't fit the exact same syllables, try again.
Oh, you're tough, Emerson.
I am. All right, over in Texas.
Real quick about her. I do have to, because I try to look for the positive. I thought her singing voice was not too bad.
Good.
All right. Well, in Texas, this is serious. It's keeping an eye on all these anti-trans bills. A new bill is being considered in the Texas Senate that would name parents of trans children child abusers if they support their kids, as it redefines child abuse to include gender-affirming medical intervention. They could face jail time, have their kids taken away if the bill passes. And another one targets the liability insurance of doctors who provide gender-affirming care. Amber Briggle, the mother of a trans boy, testified at the Senate committee, and she said this: I'm afraid that by speaking here today, that my words will be used against me, and my sweet son, whom I love more than life itself, will be taken from me. When my son was 4 years old, he asked me if scientists could turn him into a boy. I knew that he wasn't like most girls his age and that something inside him was hurting. Today, my son is the most popular boy in 7th grade. He's loved by our friends, our family, our church, and our community. This is possible because he has parents who affirm him and provide him with the support he needs. If this bill becomes law, that, senators, is child abuse. And I promise I will call every single one of you every time a transgender child dies from suicide to remind you that their lives could have been saved, but you chose not to.
It was so powerful, her words. And it got me thinking, you know, in this range of anti-trans bills we're talking about across the country and they're heading for governors' desks, the sinister nature of going after the parents and naming them child abusers and going after the doctors who were working in accordance with the best advice from medical organizations and targeting their ability to be doctors and their insurance is so dark and sinister as a way to attack trans people. You know, they can't attack the trans person directly. So they're going after their, I mean, that is the darkest version of this I've heard. Calling a parent a child abuser for supporting their trans kid. Of all of these is one of the worst we've heard. And for her to say, I'm afraid by being here, if you all pass this, this will then be used against me to take my child away from me.
But what a brave thing that she did to fight it. And I do feel like that, boy, it needs to go to, you know, the courts, but we're in trouble with the courts as well. So I'm just, I worry about so many of these bills. I just worry.
Yeah, and trying to stop as many as we can before the courts, because then they're laws while they work through the system.
That's right.
So Equality Texas is doing good work there, but remember, check where you are, check the local laws. We have reached the halfway point of our show. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you to Bob Bielenberg and Erica Kopich, who've already made contributions today. If you want to tip us because you find us either informative or entertaining, and hopefully both, you can send us a tip on Venmo to @EmersonCollins or in PayPal to beardcollinshoresproductions@gmail.com. Or in lieu of a contribution, if you can't do that, you can go on Apple Podcasts or iTunes to the Del and Emerson Show and write us a review. Y'all, we got 70 people watching. We still only got 3.
Y'all.
Yeah, it is not much to go and give a fake compliment. Just pretend like you ran into us at a reunion and say, "Oh, aren't you sweet and doing cute work?"
I want a commitment right now. I'm not going to do this next song. This next song. I'm not going to sing. I promise y'all. Somebody, I want y'all to say, "I'm going to write a review after it." Put it in the chat room. I'm going to write a review after your show today. Put it in the chat room, or I'm not going to do this next story that has to do with you know, packing in pews. Packing in the pews.
And also, if you watch the show live, thank you. If you also, please subscribe somewhere, even if you don't listen to it in your car. But that way, if you miss a live episode, you can always download it as a podcast. Oh no, we got 2 more. We're at 5 now.
Look at us.
Wait, I'm going to read one. The happiest hour you'll spend. I've been watching the Del and Emerson Show for quite a while, and I'm so happy to see they've added new platforms to listen to past episodes and new ones. There's never a dull moment, and you can't beat a show that makes you laugh, cry, and learn all within an hour. Now, if that isn't a great review, I don't know what is.
Well, thank you. I worked really hard on that one. No.
I know. I was like, oh, I could just write, but I did give us a rating, but I figured if I wrote one, it'd be a little dishonest.
It would be wrong. I have not even.
Moving on back into the news, and thank you to those who do. Thank you to Eric, who just contributed. This next story, I'm actually very, very passionate about. I want to share with you about a new organization and a lawsuit they filed. It's very near and dear to our heart and the show. The Religious Exemption Accountability Project, or REAP, is a new organization advocating for LGBTQ students at taxpayer-funded religious colleges and universities, like Baylor, where Del and I both went. They recently filed a lawsuit on behalf of 33 LGBTQ students at 25 federally funded Christian colleges in 18 states, suing the Department of Education in a class action lawsuit. Paul Southwick, the director of REAP's arguments, is basically that the religious exemption to Title IX is unconstitutional because it violates the due process and equal protection rights in the Establishment Clause. Basically, you can't take federal funds and then be a bigot, even if it is from your religion. That's the big issue. You cannot get government funds and then say, well, our religion lets us. But there is that exemption to Title IX. And so that's what they are fighting. And it's incredibly important. 2 Baylor students are included among the 33 plaintiffs, Jake and Veronica. Huge applause to them. I made a donation to the REAP this week. If you have some funds and want to contribute, you can donate at thereap.org. The work Paul is doing, it's incredibly important. And he also talked about mainstream LGBTQ organizations haven't done a lot fighting for these students because there's a general community response when you talk about queer kids at Christian colleges that's sort of like, what the hell are you doing there? You know, like, why would you go there if you knew what it's like? But we know it's related to the Colton story early, to our own journeys. Lots of kids growing up in Christian households end up at these places because it's the world they come from, the world they know, and they just begin to explore this part of themselves when they're outside on their own, beginning to come out. That's why they're there, and they deserve equal treatment while they're there. So once again, huge applause to the REAP. Give a donation if you can, thereap.org.
Yes. And in other church news, it's the packing. The ushers are packing.
All time to unpack it.
Jeff Jansen, who is the co-founder of Global Fire Ministries International and the writer of the book called, are you ready for this title? Trump, The Destiny of God's America, gave a sermon this weekend criticizing the church. Now, he's from Tennessee, by the way. He is a self-proclaimed prophet who runs a miracle and healing, anointing, and prophetic ministry. He preached. And, I went and watched him, and I was hoping it'd be all hell, fire, and brimstone, but he was very calm. He was very calm in the way he preached. He said the church, the ecclesia, the government of God has been so neutered and so turned effeminate, almost homosexual. I'm telling you straight up, it's ridiculous. Where are the men? Where are the men? Where's the maleness? Where is the, I will defend the children. I will protect the family. My ushers at my church, they all pack. You come to my place and you think about starting something, you're dead. They'll kill you. They'll shoot you because they're going to protect everybody else. You try to pull something, you're dead. I said, listen, guys, if I'm up here preaching and somebody comes up, make sure you get them. Just kill them. Just shoot them dead. Y'all, I did not make this shit up.
To unpack this, the idea that his big selling point is my ushers are packing. So if you come in here, what is he imagining people are coming in to do?
What is he going to say? I mean, is it going to be like me coming in and go, that's a flat out lie? What about the, Proverbs 23:2 and put a knife to your throat if you're given to gluttony? What about the shellfish in Ecclesia? I mean, would I get killed if I just stood up and started preaching like that?
I know. It seems like the beginning of some terrible D-level action movie about like the packing ushers, or the beginning of a porn. Unpacking the ushers.
Packing ushers.
Like, what's that package? Oh. But also, I mean,
ushers who pack. That's a better time. Ushers who pack.
Unpacking the ushers.
And then some of it is ushers who fudge pack.
Oh yes, that's the kind of packer. It's my favorite kind. I gotta be honest. In a long list of hilarious things, euphemisms for homosexual, fudge packers is hysterical to me.
Yes,
I never even found it that insulting. It's just funny.
And it's inaccurate for many, many people because, we take care of that. We take care of that shit.
Let's also be real. It's also a practical part of an adult homosexual life because spontaneous moments, it's a risk and a reality. You just got to be prepared. Sometimes you paint the town.
I am not willing to go there anymore. I'm done. with that.
No, hey, do not be spontaneous. I want you prepared.
There's other things you can do.
No. Be like, look, if you don't know, look, it's happened to everybody. It'll happen. You know, it's the reality of butt sex. That's
cornholers is another one I really like.
I enjoy that as well. Also, it always makes me think of Carol Channing and that, you know, when did I eat corn story. My other personal favorite is Butt Pirate.
Oh, Butt Pirate's good.
I love that. Booty. I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, I loved it when I saw Lisa Lampanelli live one time, and I just loved it when she did her demographics, and she was so foul and so politically wrong, and she goes, "Where are my cornholers?" And everyone,
yes. But one final thing, the terror of this pastor so calmly talking about the like neutered, effeminate, homosexual church, like, I don't know what sermons you're listening to. There's plenty of firebrand nonsense still happening around, sir. It's terrifying.
It is. It's just awful.
Anyway.
All right.
In other nonsense, this story, I've been following it for a little while, and it's been on the back burner because it's from Down Under. But since Drag Race Down Under premieres May 1st, and I'm very excited, this story is relevant. A very strange scandal started breaking in Australia last month as footage of an unnamed senior government staff member jerking off onto a female lawmaker's desk was leaked by a whistleblower. I mean, giant scandal, you know, whistleblower video, just a man masturbating on a woman's desk. The video was sent with additional photos of numerous male government employees engaged in sex acts inside the Parliament House. Now, the whistleblower admitted in being a participant and said he leaked them to stop the toxic, powerful, privileged boys club that does what it wants, when it wants, where it wants. He said one man filmed his conquests and shared them, sometimes on Scruff, and he has pictures or videos of at least 6 men in sex acts in the Parliament House, including 4 who worked in politics. One man even signed in a male sex worker for a former male MP. So like giant scandal, like gay sex scandal in the Parliament House, people had making videos at work. But the Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, called it disgusting and sickening and confirmed that the masturbating man had been fired. Then it was revealed that Nathan Wynn, the former fired employee, his ex-boyfriend, Gavin Cuddy, seen in an oral sex video, is the leaker. New reports are that he leaked the videos after he found out Wynn was engaged to someone else. Oh. So Wynn, the fired masturbator, his former boss, Liberal MP Warren Inch, still believes his behavior was obviously totally inappropriate, should be fired, but now says his ex-staffer is the victim of revenge porn, with Cuddy trying to get even. So Wynn describes Cuddy, his now ex, as a crazy ex-boyfriend who kept sending him X-rated photos even after they broke up. When Wynn met eventually someone new, Cuddy started spreading hate about him. Now, Cuddy says none of that is true. So does that make sense? It started this big old scandal that seemed like a whistleblower about people behaving inappropriately. And, oh, wait, shoot, I have the photo. Hold on. Behaving inappropriately.
What?
But then it turned out that maybe it's just one man mad that his now ex-boyfriend got engaged to somebody else.
I'm worried about it.
It's coming. It's coming. I like to delay.
I said I'm worried about it.
About what it's going to look like?
Well, you just described the photos as someone masturbating on someone.
Oh, no. This is just photos of the 2 men. This is Kevin Wynn on the left and his ex-boyfriend Cuddy on the right, the leaker, whistleblower, possibly revenge porn artist. But like, Lord, that is a giant gay sex scandal for the Australian Parliament House.
I don't like them.
Also, of course, the conservative straight sort of bigot tried to say, this is not representative of all men and it shouldn't portray all men. This is basically, it was like, this is representative of the degenerate gay culture. And I was like,
well, it's not, but it's not good when someone like Mr. Cuddy does this shit. It does not make us look good.
Say, there was lots of not well thought out behavior in this in the first place. You work at Parliament. Do not have somebody come in and blow them in a closet, or
there you go.
You know, rent a room. I'm sure there was somewhere else.
Letter, Emerson, write that letter, dear so and so.
As Johnny Hartman just said, Down Under will take on a new meaning.
Yes, it will.
The number, of course. Now in Australia, when they talk about us, do they say up and over?
I don't know. I never heard that.
To them, it's down under. They're not down under to them. They're just down under to our very American-centric view of the world.
I do love Australian men. All right. Well, big news. 8 episodes, straight to series reboot of Queer as Folk has officially been announced by the coming to the Peacock. The new version of the show will explore a diverse group of friends in New Orleans whose lives are transformed in the aftermath of a tragedy. Stephen Dunn, who is leading the reboot, said, "It is a surreal honor to adapt the notorious groundbreaking series by Russell T. Davies." Now, remember that. The groundbreaking series by Russell T. Davies. When the show originally aired, the idea of unapologetic queer stories on TV was so provocative that I felt I could only watch Queer as Folk in secret. But so much has changed in the last 20 years, and how wonderful would it be if the next generation didn't have to watch Queer as Folk alone in their dank basements with the sound muted, but with their family and friends with the volume cranked all the way up to the max. Many people have written me this week about this. Are you involved? And I'm not involved. None of us are involved in the American version. They are ignoring that completely and going to the source material, which is the British version.
Yeah, because Russell is involved in this, at least as an EP. And Stephen did great where he had an episode of Little America, and I like him acknowledging and honoring how so many, because I literally watched that original show on a VHS tape at someone we know in common's house, hiding at Baylor, watching those episodes.
The British one?
No, the American.
Yeah.
But the way that Stephen probably would have too. And taking it and telling like new under that same umbrella, since it's not a continuation or using the original American cast that of course we all know and love, using that title to talk about news stories should be very exciting. And
I want to say something in defense of what they're doing, because a lot of people are lashing out and going, first of all, we had a wonderful run with Queer as Folk, and I am so grateful for that opportunity. And I only want this to be so successful. And if you really look at the logistics of them doing rebooting the American version, this is a cleaner way to do it, because Warner Brothers was involved, Showtime was involved. There were lots of producers, the American creators, my good friends Dan and Ron, who I talked to this week, and nobody's bitter here. We're just like, we're going to celebrate that there is going to be another Queer as Folk, and this reboot is going to be fantastic, I think, and I will be watching every single episode.
And I would think and hope, that one, think about how exciting and how expansive the term queer and what it means and who it covers now is even broader, that they can tell new and exciting stories, and keeping that name that we all know and love will also help new young people find both versions of that original series. It's all an exciting movement to see that. I'm excited to see the name honored as well.
It's still my #1 residual.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yes, thank you for those checks. So grateful. And another celebration news, because, we talk about how bi visibility, even though bi people are such a huge part of our community, visibility is less often. Actor Ronen Rubenstein, seen here, plays Rob Lowe's gay son on Fox's 911 Lone Star, and just came out as bisexual in Variety. He's from Staten Island and said, "The biggest thing for me is where I come from. It's like people like me and people who have identified as bisexual or gay or as any part of the community, you're just not welcomed." So there was definitely a fear of sort of embracing how I felt. I was more aware of it in high school. I was aware of my feelings and how I started looking at men, but I couldn't talk to anybody about it. So he plays a gay character on the show, and his character has a boyfriend on the show played by out gay actor Rafael Silva. In real life, Ruben has a girlfriend. He says she questioned him about whether he was holding something back from her in relation to his sexuality. He talks about the conversation that they had, saying, she's like, "Is there something we need to talk about?" And I said, "Maybe." I didn't know that conversation would go, and it went probably as good as it can go. She definitely encouraged me to be vocal about it, to just live my truth. He's like, I love you for who you are, your full self, and people will love you for who you are and your full self. I just thought it was very interesting for him to share that while in a perceived heterosexual relationship, that visibility, you have to say it, whereas those of us in same-sex couples, people can assume it visually.
And I think that it's getting much better for bisexuals. I think that there was a lot, and I have to say that I was complicit and one of those people who used to question every, especially male, that claimed to be bisexual. I don't do that anymore. I celebrate their B as much as we get to celebrate our G.
Yeah, and it is, I've seen bisexual women talk about this too. Bisexual people in opposite sex couples do have the problem of people perceiving them as heterosexual and therefore assuming they aren't a member of our community at prides, at events, at various things, and talking about they have to actually say it every time.
Yes.
In order to be seen in our community. And just something for us to think about in the assumptions we make in seeing a couple in our community spaces. Because if he and his girlfriend showed up, someone might think, what are the, that we examine our own biases and our assumptions as we look at people.
Yeah, and as you say, oh, now he's straight. No, don't say that. Say he's bi. He's bi.
And if they get married, it doesn't make you less bisexual for being in an opposite sex relationship for your entire life. We don't want to invalidate anybody's experience and existence by our perceptions. That's some bullshit.
When our friend Emerson, Margaret Cho, I got to see her live at Largo right before the pandemic hit, and I just loved. She said, "I'm the B in LGBTQ." The forgotten letter.
Yeah, well, it's like there sort of gets erased either way. In an opposite sex couple, they think you're straight. In a same sex couple, they assume that you're gay. And just being aware of how we don't look past our bi folks in our community.
Absolutely. And I know y'all been wanting this story, this 3-penis baby story. It's an Iraqi baby. It was the first ever documented case of a child born with 3 penises, known as a trophalia. The 2 additional, one was attached to the shaft of the penis and one to the bottom of the scrotum. They were surgically, thankfully, removed because they were not functional. They looked into exposure to drugs while pregnant or family history, but the cause remains a mystery. Supernumerary penises occur in between 1 and 5 to 6 million births around the world. 100 cases of duphalia, which is 2 penises. Y'all, I had to go to that thing where you go, how to pronounce this word? I hope I get them right. 2 penises, but listen to that, 100 cases have been recorded worldwide. And in most of these cases, I found this very interesting. They're all the same size. They sit side by side. And in some men, one's a little smaller and sits above the larger. But according to the reports, a man with 2 penises can urinate or ejaculate from one or both, which I think would be so competitive and confusing all at once. It's like you don't want to ignore, but does one come first and the other one? I have so many questions.
Well, I think
2 penises out there, anybody.
By the way, if y'all are curious, you can go on Reddit. There is a man with 2 penises who answered a whole lot of questions on this subject.
Did they get pictures?
What?
Were there pictures?
I don't remember.
I'm going to Google images right after we're done.
I'm sure if you just Googled right now, there is some, because if there's 100 cases documented worldwide, but it just seems stressful to me. It has been a lifetime of effort just worrying about my one. And if there were 2 sitting side by side, is it a race? Do you race between the 2? Do you try to see which one's going to finish first? They did say, because I was very curious of the research, that they removed the 2 on this baby because neither was functional. They leave them alone if they're functional and they're both fine. But can you imagine also growing up and being like a teenager or learning at some point that you used to have 3 penises?
Do you brag about it or keep it a secret?
I think it's one of those things you say for when people say, tell us your name, where you're from, and an interesting fact about you as an icebreaker. Always lead with, and I had 3 penises as a baby.
I think that also that's one of those things where, because I have a friend and we like to create just lies. We like to lie to each other every now and then and see if we can get away with it. We always confess that it's a lie. But I was like, I was born with 2 penises.
Same.
One of them was surgically removed. It was set right below the other one, right between my scrotum and my big penis, my little penis. They cut it off.
I mean, I guess if you've got 2, the advantage is you can double penetrate without a friend.
But I like it. I like that. An icebreaker. I like that, Emerson.
Can you imagine? You're just, what are you at? You're like a PTA meeting. You're on the new bake sale committee, and they say, everyone go around and tell us something interesting about you. And Susan says, hi, my name's Susan, my husband Ralph, and our lovely little Johnny. And something interesting about us is that we went to the 4 corners this summer and put a hand in the 4 different states at the same time. And he says, that's so interesting, Susan. My name is Bob, and my wife Alice and our young daughter Kathleen is in the 1st grade, and I was born with 3 penises.
And then I think there's an unusual amount of silence at this point.
There is, but you are the one sitting at that PTA meeting with your hand up instantly and go, follow up. Excuse me, because we go back to Bob for a moment.
I just love that you placed this scenario at a PTA meeting.
Well, I was going to go with like AA, like what are places that are interesting?
Well, I'm thinking about Sunday night prayer service, wherever there's some new people. We got some new people with us. Brother Emerson Collins is here from Waco, Texas. Listen, we always start our little Sunday night service with just talking about ourselves, something that you wouldn't tell everybody.
But also then think about all the meetings after that. Once you've said it, and then there's, what's her name? Nellie Ray, who runs the meetings, and she says, now, I know that you're new. We all know each other very well. For example, that's Susan. They went on a driving vacation to the Grand Canyon this summer. This is Bob, born with 3 penises. This is like, she's going to be telling the story for you. She said, now your interesting icebreaker is now my story. It's like how when you tell that story about Sarah Hunley telling me it doesn't get better.
Yes.
Story.
It doesn't get, we've lied to those people. We've lied to those people.
All right. And then one silly final thing about a band that I saw this week that I just thought was kind of fun. Joe and the Shit Boys is a punk band from the Faroe Islands, a very conservative territory in Denmark. This ties all the way back to Debbie Holiday. The band bills itself as a bisexual vegan group, known for producing very short songs, under 2 minutes, even shorter sometimes, and for putting on very wild live shows designed to trigger both homophobes and meat eaters. They released their debut album last year, The Reason for Hardcore Vibes. The lead single was a 40-second track called If You Believe in Eating Meat, Start With Your Dog. Other songs include Ram Me, Macho Man Randy Savage, and the 2-second track, Fuck. Their Instagram is where I got amused. This photo, their Instagram is highly entertaining. They have this mask photo, and across the 4 masks of the band members, it says, eat ass, not animals. And I gotta tell you, that is the best sales pitch for being a vegan I have ever heard.
I'm not sure that would be an incentive for some people, though.
It is for me. I mean, it's just about my favorite thing in the whole world to do. And I got to be honest, I could probably eat your eggplant noodle dish if I thought I'm going to get some ass later.
Good for Blake.
Oh, wait, Blake said something earlier. He's out for a walk because he said, I just can't listen to the 2 of you yell at your computers today. And we were talking about that 3 penis baby story. I told him he was going to miss that. And he said, it's not odd, it's God. I know he didn't invent that quote, but I said, Blake, I have to say that on the show and attribute it to you.
That is a t-shirt waiting to happen. Well, I think that's it for us, y'all, on this Friday. Are we out of time, Emerson?
We got about a minute left.
So what are you doing this weekend? You do anything fun?
I'm very excited to watch the Drag Race reunion tonight. And on Sunday, we got our shots on Wednesday. We're going to wait the full 2 weeks to see some more people. But on Sunday, we're going to try to go to a beach and get a little spot. A final reminder, do tip if you can and have extra money on Venmo at Emerson Collins or on PayPal, Beard Collins Shores Productions at gmail.com, and write us a review. somewhere, subscribe somewhere, because y'all, now there's a website that tells me how many listeners we have not live, and that number is not very high yet.
All right, well, you'll get there. Hey,
what are you doing this weekend?
Well, tonight, because I told Beverly D'Angelo that I was not allowed to watch Valley of the Dolls as a kid, but I would sneak up and watch it, and at least saw it 6 times growing up. And I thought it was the best movie ever made. We are ordering Thai food and watching The Valley of the Dolls. And then tomorrow I'm celebrating the amazing Rosemary Alexander's 80th birthday. That was yesterday. Dr. Eve turned 80, and we're going to have some chin chin, and that's going to be fun. And then Sunday night I'm going to watch our good friend Leslie Jordan on the American Country Music Awards present.
Yes, I didn't realize that. I will put it on the DVR.
So that's it. That's my, and of course I'm teaching great actors over the weekend. Yes.
Well, good. I'm glad to see you are clearly back to yourself. We are glad. Everybody take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Remember that, you know, it's still a lot for everybody. Be gentle on yourselves and treat yourselves nice.
Y'all have a great weekend. Love you guys. See you next time.